So as you heard, my name is David Grant. I am the manager of the Facebook Accelerator program at Facebook. Before coming to Facebook, you should know that I was a journalist. And then for the beginning of my career, I covered American politics in Washington, D.C. And then after that, I was the publisher of the Christian Science Monitor in Boston, Massachusetts, where I helped launch their digital subscription model. And I was a coach in the Accelerator program, which I'll explain to you in a second. So my background is very much from media, and my passion is helping news companies build fortress business models, building sustainable business models that'll last for a long time. And most importantly, connecting with the people that love them the most, meeting the readers and supporters, viewers of your platforms that will support you forever. So we're into building long-term relationships, and we'll get into that here today, how to think about that. We're going to go through a few things today. One is, why should you be thinking about reader revenue now if you're not already? Then I'll take you through the Accelerator program, and then we'll walk through some lessons from publishers in the program that you can steal, and hopefully that will give you some inspiration for what you're doing at your media organization today. Okay. The major question, I think the major question we hear a lot is like, is a reader revenue business right for me? Is this the right time to be getting into it? Isn't there subscription fatigue? Everyone is asking us to pay. Isn't it, there's so many people coming into the market. And I think this time of the pandemic has really shown that you matter. Your news organization matters to a lot of people in your community. They turn to you at a time when they were really scared, where they didn't know what the future would hold. And you saw enormous jumps in your readership or viewership. And the question for you is, if you are so important to your community, which your community has shown you, what are you doing to build that long-term relationship so that the next time there's this sort of crisis, so in the next time your community is challenged, that you'll be there? And our contention is that some reader revenue model, whether it's donations, whether it's subscription, whether it's membership, is a really core part of the business mix for any forward-leaning publisher in the year 2020. And you just need to simply ask yourself, where's the lifetime value? Where's the LTV? Where's the, you have to read a lot of pages. You have to look at a lot of ads to make up for one subscription payment, one credit card payment over the course of a year. And so at this moment, we think the time is really right to be sharpening your reader revenue strategy if you have one, or to be building that into your business if you need a new one. And at our chat later today, we can certainly get into this, but we think the moment is really, really important. And we're seeing success with publishers all over the world. And why can I say success with publishers all over the world is because we run a program for publishers all over the world. The Facebook Accelerator program is our marquee training initiative at the Facebook Journalism Project. It's touched a lot of different communities, which I'll get into in a second, but I just want to explain it to you real briefly so you understand what we do and why this matters for all of you. The first thing is there are 4 pillars of the program. The first is expert instruction. We put you into contact with expert speakers from a number of different disciplines, from user experience to audience engagement, marketing, working with the newsroom, and really give you some really key inspiration for how to run your business in an excellent way. It's not about silver bullets. It's not about these are the right things that you must do. It's about inspiration. And that's where these expert coaches come in. Every team that comes into our program, every publisher gets assigned an expert coach who helps them apply the lessons they learn in the trainings back to their news organization. Third is grant money. At the end of the training program, you get an investment from Facebook that helps you put to work all the things you learned in the program. And the fourth is you are connected very deeply to all the other 10 to 15 publishers in the program. And going forward, you build a community of practice. If you saw before, my background was the offices in Brazil, where we held this program last year, and they have a beautiful, the 12 publishers in that accelerator have a beautiful WhatsApp group that's still going to this day. And so you build relationships with other people across the industry that help you learn. You get to learn from their tests and they get to learn from yours. So that's what we do. We've done this all over the world, as you see there, in a ton of different places through our partner, the International Center for Journalists. And if you've ever worked with them, you know that they are just excellent. And in the US, we work with the Lenfest Institute for Journalism based in Philadelphia. You see there are all sorts of companies that have gone through this, from traditional newspapers, sort of legacy papers, to digital natives, TV stations, radio stations. We really, any publisher of any type, any news organization can get value from this. We have experts, as I mentioned before. Some of these folks may be familiar to you. Many of them come from backgrounds at the New York Times or other places. Yasmin Namini was the chief marketing officer and then chief revenue officer at the New York Times for quite some time. And once you go through this program, we've just seen so much success from the publishers, more than 50,000 new paying subscribers, more than almost 1 million new newsletter subscribers generated from tests in the program, and north of $20 million in customer lifetime value. So this is not a program that's based on theory. This is a program that's based on practice and on actually building people's businesses. So we've looked all over the world. We've worked with a lot of different publishers. You should know that this is going on right now in Latam with ICFJ. We have 18 publishers: El Tiempo, El Universal, Clarín, La Nación, are all part of this adventure. So just know it's going on in the region right now. As I mentioned, 18 publishers in this program today. So let's get into it. You can do this. If you're in this space, if you're excited about this, this is something that you can get done. And I apologize. I said Clarín before. I did not mean Clarín. I meant just La Nación from our good friends in Argentina. What are the essentials for taking your best shot? What do you need to know in order to really think about your reader revenue business in a comprehensive way? Well, this is Tim Griggs. He's the Accelerator's executive director, and he's come up with 10 essential ingredients that undergird all of our training, all of our work in the Accelerator program. Here they are, and I won't go through all of them, but I just want to present them to you so you understand this takes a lot. There's so many different disciplines. There's so many different ways of being that play into a really world-class reader revenue strategy, and you need to be good at all of them. But you don't need to be good at all of them tomorrow. And so identifying which of these points on which you're strong and you can increase your advantage, and on which these points you're weak and you can improve to a lot is really, really important. And so some of just walking through this list is helpful for teams to understand where are they right now and where should they prioritize their improvement. We go through this at the beginning and end of our program, and some teams go up and some teams actually go down when you realize sort of what the state of the art is and what really world-class organizations are doing. And that's okay. Both of those are good, actually. The increased insight is what you're after, and becoming closer to the reality is what's important. So we're going to go through these as a guide today, but we're not going to touch all of them. I'm just going to begin with perhaps the most important, which is making sure you utilize a funnel approach to your business and that you keep score. There's no way for us to get better if we aren't identifying the next steps that we need to get done. That's the scorecard part of it. And the way that you can track that is by following your audience down the funnel. We have a news organization in Michigan, in the United States, known as Bridge Magazine. Their superpower is they have basically a 2-person marketing team. They have a membership director and a growth manager. And by following their audience at every stage of the funnel, from the top of awareness all the way down through conversion, looking at their content, making sure the SEO was excellent, making sure their headlines were excellent, working with the newsroom to create more content on topics that are top of mind to their readership. Driving those folks that they brought to the site through to sign up for email, and then deepening people's engagement through email, and then putting requests for contributions in front of them in a meaningful and timely way. They were able to really explode. They put their reader donations up by 2/3. You can see the numbers there on the slide, but just being very thoughtful, very consistent in walking through the funnel, and this is something we can talk about a little later today, really pays huge dividends. And again, it's not only knowing the funnel, but keeping score about how your audience is moving through their relationship with you. This is very replicable. After hearing the Bridge team talk at one of our sessions, a Canadian publisher, Le Soleil, copied it. They basically took the entire pop-up middle of the funnel email newsletter section and just applied it to their own site. They said, "Hey, I can do that. I can use that widget tomorrow, that browser extension in order to make this happen." So they started targeting it to certain types of user behavior where they saw that they were not driving a lot of signups because they noticed that their middle of the funnel was quite weak. And just by doing that, they were able to drive what would have taken them a year in 2 months. And so what's super powerful about understanding your funnel and understanding and using a scorecard is being able to see those deficiencies and being able to address them very meaningfully and then take the next step, right? It's never ends, right? As soon as you shore up one part, maybe you've fallen behind a little bit, or now you can see how you can move another part ahead because you've done a lot better. So these are extremely replicable if you have the underlying, these tactics are extremely replicable, I should say, if you have the underlying discipline of following your audience through the funnel and tracking it. So ask yourself, if you can think through your audience funnel, what are you going to do? Where are you weakest? And tomorrow, what can you do to begin working on that? We start with that powerful question with our teams, and always leads to a lot of good insight for them. Let's move on to the second one, which is obsessing over the user experience. This is something I know you all at Media Party talk about a lot, and I've put a lot of time and thought into. The user experience here was excellent. I actually took a screenshot of your setup and sent it to our Accelerator executive director just as I was sitting here to say, hey, I wonder what these guys are using for their setup. Maybe we should steal that for the Accelerator, because it really matters. And you'll see this at its most perhaps key point in when you're asking people to take action on your site, when you're asking them to give you some information. And so we'll go up to Canada for our friends at the Winnipeg Free Press. They were trying to drive free trials for their site. And what they noticed was that they were getting a lot of people to the free trial page. They had a very tight registration wall, but they were getting so few people to take trials. And and you've seen this from many publishers. That's a very key indicator of people's willingness to pay. If you can get them on a trial, if you get them to register, that's a much stronger signal in many cases than readership of number of articles. So they said, well, this is a part where we're weak and we can see the user experience here is lacking. And so you could see they simplified their registration process from 11 steps to 6. They did things like make sure that you actually got back to the article you were trying to read after you registered. You'd have to go to your email. You could do it all on one page. And so they had this sort of complicated explanation of how to create an account, and you had to do all these things. It was a lot. They really made the readers work in order to support them. And before that, they said, give me your email address and I'll let you through. And by doing that, by making that simple switch, by just cutting down the amount of friction they put into that form, they 5x their signups in a single month. And then we're looking at almost a 150+% increase in the number of people who paid. And the most important thing about these user experience changes is they compound, right? That's 5x in the first month. And then every month after that, they're seeing this consistent improvement because they've straightened out something in their flow of readers supporting them that was so important to their business. And so just think through all the vital things that you need your audience to do on your site. Think through all the things that you really, the most important points where they're putting in their credit card information. They're signing up for a newsletter, when they're getting your podcast, when they're subscribing to your YouTube channel, when they're joining your Facebook group. How can you make those things as simple and easy as possible? And start with those things that are most core to your business. And with that thought in mind, I think you could think of 3 or 4 things today that could be simpler. And having someone that you know, but that does not work in your news company, walk through some of those flows in front of you qualitatively can be very, very revealing. And you can also see this through tools like Hotjar and other things, click tracking, where you can see where people are getting stuck. But one way or another, that's a super key point of being sure that your user experience is excellent. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Getting your tech stack right. If this isn't painful for you as an organization, then I don't know. I hope you can come and speak at the Accelerator to help us understand how to do a really excellent job with your tech stack. But we feel it all over the world. This is where it hurts. People are looking at their technology tools and feeling like they have shortcomings, or thinking someone else somewhere has a magical AI that solves this problem that they can't solve. And technology is a challenge for everyone, right? We're all resource limited. We can't buy every single tool. And when we do buy every single tool, if we can, they don't talk to one another. So how do you get this right? And again, it means we're going to start with, where is this most important? every second that you make people wait costs you money. Every second that they spend, waiting for your page to come up is expensive. Asking people to set up a password during their account registration. You heard that from Winnipeg. This is a stat from Greg and the Lenfest Institute, and shout out to Greg from before. Great accelerator speaker and one of the just amazing people thinking about this space. What are you doing to fix those things? What are you doing to fix your credit card failures? This is something that people's eyes glaze over. They think it's boring. You talk about dunning and billing and retries and all this sort of thing. But 30% of your churn, up to 30% of your churn, may be credit card failures. And of those people who break because their payment method fails, you're going to lose almost 2/3 of those, according to some of the research by Patrick Campbell and the team at Profitwell. So when you're feeling this pain in your tech stack, when you're feeling like what's not working, where are the places where it's costing you the most? I think sometimes we get lost in trying to fix everything or trying to have this frictionless machine of technology, when actually we really need to fix a few core things and the other things are negotiable. So what can you do? Really get to good, really get to great on the critical technology, on your page load, on your login systems, on your credit card and billing. Those are the places where it's going to make you money. And so really stay locked in on those and get those up to excellent. And then you can figure out everything else. Okay. Last, but certainly not least, this is the most important thing that you can do as an organization, is aligning around the same goals. We call it getting everyone in the canoe. We used to call this getting everyone on the bus, until someone pointed out that everyone can be on the bus, but many people can be on their phone and not paying attention. So now it's everyone in the canoe, because everyone has to be rowing in the same direction. And this may be my favorite accelerator case study of all time, which is the Funke Media Group in Germany. Funke is a medium-sized publishing house in Germany. They're not special in some way. They don't have some magical technology. They don't have they have a very, very smart, very driven executives, but not some famous visionary person at their organization. And they set out to do a really simple thing at the beginning of the accelerator. They had one of their publishers in the program, North Rhine-Westphalia, and they said, we get 75 subscriptions a day. What would it take us to get to 150 subscriptions a day? How could we raise our baseline by double? And then they went out to do that. They reorganized their company, the way they worked, in order to get to that very simple thing. In doing so, they got to some fantastic numbers. And I won't walk you through every single test and every single thing they did. But the main thing to understand here is, by organizing their leadership, by putting together a cross-functional team, part two, and by testing rigorously, they were able to just raise the waterline a little bit at a time, a little bit over time, all over the ensuing 6 to 9 months, that brought them up to double where they had started. This is kind of a boring slide in some way. Like, there wasn't like some magic thing that you can go back and do. It just speaks to the power of the confidence that they had in empowering the people already inside their organization. They didn't fire everyone. They didn't bring in anybody new, to work together in a different and better way. What is that way? Well, first, it's agile. They brought together a cross-functional team with very quick sprints, biweekly sprint cadence, to get things done and get things tested and out the door. Third, they failed at a lot of stuff. They put a lot of tests out there that didn't work, and it didn't stop them. They had the courage and the consistency to keep going, even when their initial tests were not successful. That adds up to a lot over time. If you can have this sort of direction and guidance, that will really get you a long way. And you can read all about the actual tactics they put together. We have a long case study on this not long, but a very excellent case study on this on the Facebook Journalism Project website. I'll be happy to share, that tells you sort of specifically what they did. The last thing I want to say about this is that they did not deliver this as a goal, stated by leadership. This was something that they built into their everyday way of being. It inspired the entire company to just work a little better together every day. And by doing that, they were able to really move mountains, which is just so incredibly impressive. So let me just, to close here, let me just say that spirit, that attitude of working together, of unity, is something that I think we can work on as an industry. In most cases, particularly in local markets, we are not competitors, right? And across countries, sometimes we're not competitors. We're actually collaborators. And the more that we build on top of the success of other publishers, the more that we come to things like Media Party and learn from one another, the better off we will all be. And so we've had a lot of success in helping news organizations work better together just by bringing them into the same room and letting them connect in a meaningful way. And so my question to you all today is, are you together in the canoe? Are you working together? Do you feel connected to your peers in the industry? Are you connected to your colleagues? Are you ready to take the next step forward as a field, as a community of practice? And how do we get beyond competition and on to cooperation and learning from one another? So ask yourself, where are you on this journey? Where on those 10 things are you? Where are you strong, and where could you grow? There's a ton of examples and other things that I'd be happy to help you learn from the Facebook side of things at facebookjournalismproject.com, and you can look up the Accelerator there and see all the great case studies that have come through the program. You can also reach me at Accelerator. That's actually wrong. It's Accelerator, not Accelerators at facebook.com, which I apologize for that. But I'm very grateful for the time here today with you all, and looking forward to chatting a little later on today as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David. I think that all the people in the audience is clapping and say, I would like to get into the project, in the accelerating project. I'm wondering, how can the organizations get into the Facebook Accelerator program?
Great question. So we run these programs about once or twice a year in Latin America. So you'll see announcements from us when the next window opens for applications. Until then, I think it's best to get on the Facebook Journalism Project's newsletter. That's where we announce everything. And if you have a contact from Facebook at your organization, please do reach out to them. They know a lot about this, and they'd love to chat with you about it.
As organizations working in Latin America, which is our biggest problem and our biggest challenge?
Good question. Confidence.
Ooh, confidence. That's a great word.
I think that so much we hear it. Are we going to overwhelm our readers? Are we asking too much? Are we really good? Do we deserve the support? Should we stand up in front of the community and ask? And I think that is the piece. I'm just so impressed by the creativity of companies like Redaction or Nexo Jornal in Brazil. I mean, there's so many amazing publishers across the region. And I think that is the thing that holds people back more than anything is we're excellent, and we're going to make the case that we should be supported by our readers. And sometimes that's because we don't know exactly how to make that case, or we don't feel confident in doing that. But I think that's the piece that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay, David, Grant, thank you very much for your keynote for today. We invite all the people that are to get into the Sofa Hub. We are going to have with David Grant later. So 1:30 to 14:30, we will have our Sofa Hub with David. Thank you very much for being today. Muchas gracias. Nos vemos en el Facebook Accelerator program.
Thanks, David.